At Allergan, you mentioned you had north of 80,000
At its peak.
at its absolute peak.
Yep.
Roughly 80,000 something employees at Bausch and Lomb. You're still at 13,000 plus right now. It's just huge numbers of people that for someone like me, it's hard to fathom leading that many people. Like doing tens of millions in revenue for me is complicated, let alone billions in revenue.
Right.
And I'm like, how the hell does this guy do it? What did you come to understand about leadership and what it takes to be effective at that level of scale?
It's about the team around you, right?
Yeah.
And the bigger the organization or the number of people you're managing, it's about the layers of great people. And so have you ever, let me ask you a question. I think about talent as A talent, B talent, or C talent, right? You have A, Bs, and Cs. Have you ever seen a B player hire an A player?
Never.
If you don't start with A players around you and you make one compromise, it exponentially reverberates through the organization, right? And so you really have to be careful about the team that's around you. So for example, when I came to Bausch and Lomb, I guess it was 18 months ago or thereabout, I looked at the team that was there and really great people, but I also knew that my timeline was more accelerated than perhaps a traditional new CEO coming in. It was a turnaround, and I felt like we needed to move very quickly to get back into the business of eye care, right? We're an eye care company. I don't quote me on the number. I think I had 11 direct reports. I replaced 9 of the people within the first 3 months.
Wow.
And not necessarily because the other ones weren't good. I didn't have time to get to know them. I didn't have the year to figure out.
So you needed people you could trust that you knew could execute.
I needed guarantees that next level were going to be A players. And then I needed to make sure that their teams under them were A players, and really spend a lot of time thinking about that, working on that, and putting that into place. And then continuing to really encourage people to think about hiring as the most important decisions you make as a leader or as a manager. I always say, if we're going to go buy a capital equipment, we need to go buy something. We have all sorts of forms and business cases, and we're going to look at ROI. If we want to buy a business or a product, we'll do exhaustive analysis. When we go hire somebody, it's just like, okay, we interviewed them, let's hire them. Doesn't make sense to me. That person is more important than any capital equipment we're going to buy or any small business or product we're going to buy. That person, will stay for several years. Fully loaded costs are pretty high. And then they're going to hire 7 or 8 other people that are going to either infect us with energy or absorb our energy, right?
Good point.
And so, it's the fruit from the poisonous tree, or it's the apple that makes everybody happy, right? It's one or the other. And so, I think for PwC taught me the value of people. It's almost a religion to me, right? But you have to have great people. Don't compromise.
I know this is hard to oversimplify, but like in 2020 hindsight, so few people become CEOs of public companies, let alone Fortune 500 companies. What would you say were those couple like trajectory defining moments for you that allowed you to get to that level?
I think probably the biggest career decision I ever made was I was a partner at Pricewaterhouse in the consulting side. Leaving there to go into industry was probably the biggest career defining kind of fork in the road that I ever faced. I don't know if I would make that decision again. Most people thought I was nuts. I even thought I was nuts. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I didn't want to be a consultant forever. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot there, but I couldn't ever imagine myself doing that for 20 or 30 more years.
Yeah.
When I worked with big companies, particularly pharmaceutical companies, as a consultant, I really felt like I could make a difference and I could do that job on the other side. It looked easier than it was, right, from the other side of the
retrospect,
right. But
yeah.
I remember just really thinking to myself, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, and if I stay here longer, I'll be trapped here forever. And I have to do something different. Let the financial cards fall where they may, and maybe it would be the stupidest financial decision in the world, but at least I'll be doing something I want to really be passionate about.
What was the main skill set that transferred over from PwC? Were you more of a sales go-to-market guy, like more of an operations executive, or what was the core skill set you had built that allowed you to transfer over?
Yeah, so what made me successful at consulting, and I think I was one of the youngest partners ever at Pricewaterhouse, and may be still holding a close to that record, was understanding the value of your team, right? The way you become successful in a consultancy is is having great teams that can deliver great customer service or client service, right? And solve problems, right? And really deliver. And so, I started building a team at PwC. It started with 3 people, then it was 10 people, then it was 30 people, so I could service multiple accounts with excellence and really do well. And I think to this day, it's probably the skill that I've taken from there that has translated into the most success is surround yourself with really freaking smart people. Right?
Yeah, easier said than done, right?
Right. No, and you understand this, right?
Yeah.
But the selection process and the rigor and discipline,
Yeah.
finding great people, but probably more important, cultivating and helping build great people.
That's a
too.
great point.
And you have to have both.
Yep.
Right. And that's the full recipe.
Yeah.
But even to this day, I think about everything I'm doing now. The first thing I think about are the people. Like, do we have good people? Can we get the job done? Can we deliver? Right. Do the people we have, can they get there?
When we talk about running a company with tens of thousands of employees, like you mentioned your time, right? Like whatever you can do to create a lever on your time to focus on higher priority or higher lever activities is your mission, right?
Yep.
Time is the hardest thing, especially when you have so many product lines, divisions, competing interests. How do you think through structuring your time? Are there any key filters you have where I'm going to spend X% on this, Y% on this, or how do you think through your time?
I don't think about it that way.
It's not that deep.
No, it's not that deep. And I'm probably not a good example for a lot of people. I'm a workaholic. I love working. I never quite understood the whole work-life balance thing personally. I got it professionally.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm okay with other people finding their fulcrum of where they want to find that balance.
Yeah.
What makes me happy in life is my family and my work. And all the other stuff I'm trying to get better at not doing. I'll give you an example. This summer, I've been really busy. I was telling you before we started, right? I've gone out to dinner twice. And you were at one. It was a quasi-business dinner for Rome. The other one was with my wife and some friends. That's it. I haven't been out to dinner in 3 months other than that.
Was there an inflection point for you where it was initially about the status, the money, the fame, and then it became more impact driven, or were you always this kind of heart-centered, impact driven?
Yeah, I don't think it was ever about the status or the fame, because I actually am a pretty private person.
Yeah, you are.
And
So thanks for doing this.
But with the roles that I've had, there is you have to be out talking about your company. You have to be the chief spokesperson for your organization or your company. And so that's part of the responsibility. Financially, sure. I always wanted a secure financial situation for my family, for me, and hopefully for my grandkids one day, if I ever have them, right? It would be great to be able to leave that legacy.
Yeah.
That probably did drive, some, as much as I hate to admit it because it sounds superficial, right? That probably did drive some of my ambition when I was younger. Today, it's just about building things.
Yeah.
I mean, I really am building successful teams and watching people do great things and hopefully creating products that make a difference. For example, I was an early investor and board member in a company that I got involved in right around the time we sold Allergan. I think it was late 19, early 20, right when the deal was signed. Both my daughters have food allergies and they carry the EpiPens. And as they got older, I would ask them sometimes at night, do you have your EpiPen? No, Dad, it doesn't fit in my purse, or I'm not carrying that thing today. I'm like, well, it's life-saving. Like, you got to freaking have your EpiPen. And so a guy approached me about a company where we're going to take the device and the pen and put it in the Narcan nasal pump and get rid of all the needles and make it super simple. And it just got approved last Friday.
No way. Congratulations.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll be available in a few weeks, and I'll get my daughters, right off the pharmacy shelves when they come out. Really gratifying to have been a small part of seeing that product come out. And it was on Good Morning America last week. It's been in the news a lot. And, you just look at it, even though my name's never associated with it, and nor should it be, right? But you sit back and you're like, that's pretty cool. I was part of that. Like, so many people are going to have life-saving medicine because it's much smaller, it's needle-free, right? They're going to have it in their pocket or their purse. God forbid they need it, right? Because, I made an investment, I got involved in a small company.